Hello, welcome to the Myth-Busting Neurodiverse Relationships podcast. I'm Natalie Roberts and I'm here with my co-host Heather Parks. We've both been in our neurodiverse relationships and families for more than 25 years. We met 10 years ago when we were feeling really desperate and trying to solve a lot of issues in our relationship and our families. We've been journeying since then. We've found many more positive and hopeful ways to solve, resolve, repair, reconnect in those relationships and in our families, in our lives. And we now co-host also Loving Difference online, giving hope and a way forward for neurodiverse relationships. In this podcast, though, we're busting the myths about neurodiverse relationships, which we had when we started this journey, that we've realised aren't true, and that actually were preventing us from recovering and having the relationships with our partners and children that we wanted. So we want to dispel these myths and bring you hope that absolutely things can change. So whether you're out and about or comfy with a cuppa, let's dive into our next conversation. See you there.
Hi, in this episode, we thought we would have a chat with you and together about what we learned from professionals in books, on videos, in all sorts of places about ourselves in relation to our neurodiverse relationship, and what we subsequently learned that maybe has been more beneficial to us. And looking back, I can remember that there were some specific things, Heather, that I guess took into my system about what I was in and what was possible or not possible, both for the relationship and for me. Things like, so if I give you some examples, maybe you'll have some too. Things like your partner can't change, which was pretty devastating when I'd been spending a lot of years trying to improve things or make some changes that I thought would make our family happier. And so I was now learning, your partner can't change. This is how he is. And so I was, and also hearing that you are feeling how you are because of how he is. So now I felt very hopeless very quickly, because my happiness was disappearing quite fast, I think, because it was reliant on something changing in Pete. I also think I heard that I was suffering from something that was called various things, which are around in terms of terminology, like Cassandra syndrome, might also be called emotional affective disorder, might also be called ongoing trauma relationship syndrome. If you look up any of these things and read the list of symptoms, then you likely recognize yourself. I certainly recognize myself in all of them. But then some of the information attached to that then was, you can't recover from that in the relationship. You could only recover from that, and quite quickly, if you leave the relationship. That I was definitely suffering from something because of my partner. And it all started to feel quite devastating and despairing. And these were things that I basically believed at the time, because I didn't know any better. I was just starting to learn about autism and the experience of what neurodiversity had been like for us and all of that. And so I was trusting, I guess, the limits of what these professionals know, and believed that was now our future. And I remember just really feeling very devastated. I started to go into quite a depression, because the future seemed really bleak and not good. What about you? Do you recall some similar things?
Yeah, very similar. So I was really aware that things weren't brilliant between us, and I put it down to a lot of things. Obviously, we had children who were struggling as well. There was a lot of stress. We were, my husband was setting up his own business. We'd had moves. There was a whole range of. I wasn't working because I couldn't find childcare for children. You know, so there was some finance. You know, there was just so many things that I just. So I thought
it's probably this.
Yes, I thought he was stressed. Yeah. You know, and when all this stress went away, everything would be fine again. So my first response to it dawning on me that perhaps he is also autistic after some of my children were diagnosed with that, particularly my third child, who they're very, very similar, and I could really, there's no doubt in my mind when that diagnosis came in that it was also applied to my husband. And I remember feeling utterly gutted because what that said to me is it's not going to improve as a result of all these other things changing. So even if I could fix everything else around us, he would not be able to change.
Yes.
That's what I was getting. So I was just like, oh, so this is it for life then. This is how it is. It's nothing to do with all these other things.
It's almost like you can't change anything. You are, this is the experience you're going to have. You've got it because of this. And also being told at the same time that the person that's largely created that can't change anything. I mean, even just saying that aloud, it does sound pretty devastating. It was
bleak, and I remember also really struggling with my mental health at that point because I just thought, well, this is not good. I'm not good in this now.
I was only just realizing that I've been doing something called walking on eggshells. I had no idea it even had a word. No. I didn't think I was anxious. So suddenly I was like, okay, actually I'm also anxious, feeling depressed, and now I'm hearing I can't change anything, and I'm a changer and a helper and a fixer and a now this is a bit scary. So
and so that was so similar to me. And you start Google, you immediately turn to the computer and you start doing some research, and you start putting things like autism and relationship coming up, and then like you say, these terms start coming up and they just go, oh my goodness, that's me. I'm practically in some kind of, I'm in a hideous relationship, you know. And suddenly it just became this sort of very depressing, ongoing,
disempowering, I think you said as well.
Disempowering.
Because we are the I think because also we're the ones, loss of agency, because also we're the ones that are trying to make a happy family and a good relationship largely. And
we're doing all of this. We're putting so much of our energy into making everything okay for everybody, and then we're just finding out that actually we can't do anything.
We can't. So that's what we dropped into. Fast forward to, I would say for me, a couple of years later, but also to now, and thinking about what I believe about those things that I heard from professionals at the time. There's really something that I want to share about a different message. And I can remember, working particularly on my well-being, and we talk a lot about that in Loving Difference, focusing on that, reacquainting yourself with yourself, getting back into relationship with yourself, knowing who you are, and you know, and that is not unique to universal neurodiverse relationships. That's really important to say.
Important for every relationship.
So lots of people lose themselves in a relationship. So getting that back was really important. So that sort of disproved something about you can't recover while still in the relationship. It may be true that you it's more challenging to, or it takes longer to. I definitely would potentially say that's
or you need
true.
Support of some good friends.
You need really good support, and also that one of the reasons, I think this is the challenge of it, one of the reasons it's harder to recover in the relationship is because you are still in the ongoing stress relationship. It is a relationship at that point that is stressful. So you are still in the stressful situation, and there's no doubt, even in any other situations in relationships other than neurodiverse ones, that recovering or getting yourself better or more healthier in the relationship when you're still in it is challenging, because you are still exposed to or in an environment that has their stress. But you can do it, and there are ways to protect yourself and to create some distance and space and all those kinds of things that are all possible, so that you can begin to thrive, which I was generally hearing at the beginning, that it's going to be something you have to survive and endure if you choose to stay. And I just wasn't okay with that. It was it was really bleak. And I was doing some other studies and some other just other studies at the time in a completely different area, and that was inviting me to ask some different questions, particularly about myself and things. And I started studying mutual support and recovery generally, and recognizing that it is absolutely possible to do that. And actually the stress, if you can have the support and you know the tools and methods to do it, is actually a good place to do it in, because you need to be, it's just, you know, you need to be, you have to do it safely, but actually working with what's triggering is important. So yeah, so I think that was really important to learn that actually after a couple of years, I was actually saying, I'm not suffering from Cassandra syndrome or ongoing trauma relationship syndrome or emotional affective disorder, like the words, the things that are talked about, I'm not. So I want to share a message that you can reverse these things. Yeah. You can reverse yourself out of them and even become more of the person you want to be, even and when your partner's not changing anything. So, and also to question the thing about that they can't change.
No, because actually what we were saying before, you know, when I was saying, oh, perhaps it's going to be better when this is changed and that change and that. But actually the thing is, if you do change a lot of this stuff with yourself, with the situation, with the environment, with your expectations, with your communication, with you sorting some of your own, getting some self-trust back, and believing in yourself to be able to hold and support yourself, and also finding other ways to get that support. All those things, it changes everything around you. We talk about ripples all the time, don't we? But actually you making those changes for yourself does impact and reduce the stress and anxiety have a massive impact on how anyone can function, not just someone who's neurodivergent, but anybody. You know that I know that when I'm stressed and anxious and depressed, that I'm a very different person. So of course, like someone who's neurodivergent, who's also struggling with all these different layers on top, is going to, if you take some of that, start stripping some of that away and allowing them to be themselves, actually, they will change, whether they're consciously doing the work or trying to do it just as a response to the reduced pressure they're experiencing. To always be the one. We just have unrealistic expectations of our relationships in any case, and we truly can find, once we've identified what we need, we can find ways to meet those needs in such a way that doesn't negatively impact on those we care about.
And it also didn't mean that I was recovered and the relationship wasn't still stressful. So I still always talked about being in a ongoing stress relationship, that the relationship by some of its nature is stressful. I think now, even beyond that, a few years on, it's much less stressful again, because we've got more pressure out of it, that even that's got better. But I think the other thing that I was told or read and learned at the time was that I would need to further adapt myself by learning various things, partly which were maybe to see if you could try strategies and teach your partner some things. Totally ridiculous for me. Didn't work any of that.
But that's what it was looking for.
I think it might work if you have got both of you on board, and there definitely are people that do that. But for us, it's been work that we've been doing when you don't have your partner is not interested in doing that work. So we want to let you know that you can recover yourself and have a better relationship. It doesn't always take two to tango. It just doesn't. But the thing of needing to bend myself even more when I realized that I had been accommodating, compensating, bending myself out of shape beyond who I am in order to try to make people feel happier, more relaxed, better, and then finding that for all my efforts, I don't know myself and they're still not okay. And now you're telling me I'd have to bend even more. I think even somewhere I read there's a statistic that the neurotypical or non-autistic partner would bend or have to be like more flexible, like 70%. So there's sort of this belief or philosophy that it is the non-autistic or neurotypical partner that has to bend more. Well, again, that's like red rag to a bull for me, who is that's my pattern, which would be to keep adapting, but actually that hadn't been helping me. So I did start trying some of the things like speak more directly, don't talk with any emotion in your voice, there were some quite specific things, and I just realized that I was then being even less of me. So again, I want to be able to share that now I show up as even more me than I was ever before in the relationship, and our relationship is stronger for it. You don't have to, it doesn't mean I'm not talking directly to him. It's not that I'm not using some of the tools around autistic communication that are helpful, but I'm not losing my way of speaking and being as well. There's a melding or a melting together that you can create. I still want to say hello in a Natalie way, not hello, how was your day, because we believe it will be received better, or that just takes me out of it, and we just go back to some sort of shrunken shell, and I don't want that for people.
I think it's really useful if we think back right to the beginning of our relationships and try and remember how we were at that time.
Yes.
And remind ourselves that is the person that they were attracted to.
Yes.
And so if you keep on continuously, because I mean it happens very gradually and very slowly, so you don't really notice, but once you've become aware of it, it doesn't make any sense to actually do more of it, because actually when you were at your happiest in your relationship was when you were you, and arguably at that time they could have been masking even more, but they still wanted to be with you in that space. And actually in the relationship what I realized is it's me that had changed so dramatically. I had thought, going into parenting, like taking out the business, all of this stuff had put a toll on my partner, but actually it's me that had changed so much, and I'd turned into this over anxious, people pleasing, trying to fix the whole world. Completely forgot about any needs that I had for myself, didn't even know what my needs were, couldn't remember whether I liked something or didn't like something. And absolutely, if you're feeling that, oh my god, that's me, we totally can recover from that. And
which comes back to the fact that a lot of what is listed and encompassed in the descriptions of these kinds of syndromes or disorders that we would be experiencing. And also remember, it's a reactive disorder to a situation. So as the situation changes, as you have agency to change the situation for you, even if what's happening here isn't changing, you can change how you are in it.
And how you respond to it, and how you react to it.
It has a massive influence. And slightly lost my train of thought, but no, it's fine.
Can't help you interrupting sometimes.
No, where was I going? Can you remember?
I just carry on.
Yeah, carry on.
So I was going to say something about, now I've lost my train of thought. I was going to say something about
I was going to say about stress and trauma, that actually good, don't lose it. Okay, I'll try. Those descriptions, yes, there's neurodiversity, there's that's an element of it, but the reaction or the disorder or the thing that the reactivity in us was because of the level of difference we were in that we didn't know, the stress and anxiety and trauma that exists in our relationships in each other, and actually deal with that is much better. And actually that it is very similar to post-traumatic stress disorder, all of these kinds of things, and that is what we're sort of in. I totally understand that, but with knowledge, once you know what it is, you can change it, you can reverse it, and then you can thrive and you can be well, and then you can make choices about the relationship, in, out, beyond, whatever. But I just think some of these things now for me are myths. What I originally learned were actually mythology, because they have not been borne out for me. They are not true for me now.
And I think this idea that someone can't change, when you're in a relationship, you impact each other. It is interrelationship. It's two nervous systems that are co-regulating and weaving together. And absolutely, if you make changes, that is going to have a knock-on effect. And just as they have impacted us, you know, in the same way, we can reverse that and get back to something that's a lot more healthy and a lot more pleasurable, and just start living again.
So my encouragement to you is to just be curious and open-minded about what you're reading and about what you're deciding about your experience, because what you believe is who you become. And look for other views. In Loving Difference, we tackle some of these things together. And I, as a coach, particularly passionate about finding your way back to yourself, reversing Cassandra, effective, whatever all these things, but reversing yourself out of it, being you again, sparkling, thriving, vibrancy, all the things that you know you've been, which is who your partner fell in love with. It really is. I remember Pete saying to me when I was thriving again, he said to me, my Natalie's back. And I just thought it was just really nice. You know, it wasn't going where any of us really wanted it to go, and I think that was just really, really lovely. So you can find your way back to you. You can do it in the relationship. You can do it with help and support. We're really wanting to do that in Loving Difference. And so come around this video or podcast, however you're accessing what we're talking about, come and find us and get on the reversing and revitalizing. That's my new language for it. Reversing and revitalizing yourself so that you can thrive inside your neurodiverse relationship, and then choose and make decisions for the future. Anything else you want to add?
No, just come in and I'd just love to share everything I've learned along the way about our nervous systems as well, and our defense modes, and how that impacts our relationship, and how actually both of us are in that state, and it's not one-sided as sometimes we're led to believe, and that both people, I think that's really important. Just the last thing I want to say is that we are not the only ones in the relationship who are struggling or quote marks, having these kind of syndromes, because actually, whilst we're focused on how we're feeling in it, actually we've got to remember that our partners also are feeling something too, because their needs haven't been met perhaps for the entirety of their lives. So I think it's remembering this isn't something that just can affect the neurotypical partner. This is something experienced by both people in this relationship.
And it also isn't just autism or other neurodivergence, it's also anxiety, other mental health things, depression, trauma. These are all the things that actually you're handling and have been living in without knowing. So but these are all things that you can learn about and work on. And actually what I found, are we going to be back? Oh, did we? It might have disappeared there. Quick battery check. What was the saying? Poop.
We were talking about how we can reverse things.
I know, but I was just saying something really good at the end. Oh, no. We'll add it on at the end if we remember.
We'll do a postscript. It always happens. We'll watch back and we'll remember.
Or just that there were other things. And actually, what I tend to find is that in groups and lots of other places where we're all hanging out who've experienced the same, we're only talking about autism. And actually, we need to be learning also about ourselves and trauma and mental health and well-being and some other things. I think one of the biggest issues at the beginning for me was that it was only all autism centered, and I wasn't there, and there was all these other things.
Yeah,
it's
and
actually
that is one part of the story, isn't it? And our past experiences, our narratives, the society norms.
If this episode has resonated with you, Subscribe to the podcast wherever you're listening or watching to get notifications of future episodes. To dive deeper into all of this with professional coaching, resources, and all the support you need, join us in Love Indifference via www.loveindifference.net. And we'll be back here soon.